Hey guys, it's Rachel at Healthy Hustle Podcast. I was just laughing with Michelle because we were going over topics. I was like, I feel like we've covered so much in this podcast. Like, what do we need to cover at this particular time in the year? One thing I know is that it is a lot about goal setting. As we go into the new year, if you're anything like me, you might find around Thanksgiving, you start to do that analysis of like the year and kind of gratitude list, what you're grateful for, and what you also want to change. I know for me in business, that also happens like every quarter. I hope you're analyzing your business every quarter, looking at the prices that you charge, making is that a word? Amendments? Making any
Amendment.
changes, making any changes to your business that you got to make. But the big thing that happens in December is really that goal setting. I think if you're scared to kind of attack that goal setting, that's some stuff that needs to work on that mindset and really your thought patterns about self-worth. That's what we're going to be diving in today. Self-worth, goal setting, putting on your big girl panties and being able to actually say, yes, I'm going to go for my dreams. I'm going to actually write them down. So today I asked Michelle, which you guys have listened to Michelle on this episode before. So Michelle, let's talk about goal setting. What would stop somebody from actually wanting to put their goals on paper?
The fear of putting it out there, and the fear of it might not happen. So like a lot of times people won't write down or even say out loud what they really want to happen, because there's that fear of like, well, if I say it and then it doesn't happen, then I'm going to feel like I'm, not good enough, or I didn't get what, I wanted, or, whatever it is, that whatever internal fears are there, it just kind of stops, because once you put it down on paper, it kind of just becomes like a real thing. you know
Reality. I remember when I went and hired a coach, Ann Samloff, who was my first launch coach. I was in her mastermind, and it was the time that we had to write down our launch goals. I was so freaking scared. And I actually shared in the group, I'm really scared to do this. I've never actually written them down. I just say them. And she was like, no, you have to write them down. And when I wrote that number down, I actually hit that number. And it was that time that I was like, I have to do it. Truth is, I don't do it enough, because I do. Sometimes I get that like little fear that comes up. Like, what if I don't accomplish this? Especially in times of up leveling and times of kind of shifting business. But I would say, Michelle, what is your tip if you're feeling that fear? You're like, oh my God, am I actually going to write this down? What am I going to do? What's your tip for kind of attacking that?
Yeah, I learned this, gosh, I don't even know how many years ago now, maybe 5 or something. I had done a program with Todd Herman, and he was all about this like 90-day year. And he had this strategy for good, better, best when it came to goals. And that helped me tremendously, and I use it all the time. Because I feel like sometimes we always think we always think best formatting, right? Like best goal. But, when you really look at it and it's like, okay, this would be the best possible outcome, like this would be good, this would be better, and you kind of put it down in those increments. It gives you also just some fluidity, flexibility. It doesn't feel like a goal that's so like, yes or no.
Unachievable.
Yeah. So what's really nice about that, and like looking through that mindset, is you give yourself like, flexibility to hit, different levels, and to still feel really positive about it. So, always look at it. I always look at it through that lens of, okay, let me set like, this is a good goal. This is something I know I believe I can achieve. But I still have, the other 2 brackets there. And that'll help with anything, however many clients you want, how much, what are
Your
your income
pricing, what are you
goals?
charging?
Yeah, what do you want to launch? Like just so many different things, even your personal goals, if even just thinking about it, even with your own clients, like as a health coach, like even just thinking, let's say like weight loss, like a lot of people are like, oh, I want to lose, 30 pounds. But there's still a good feeling, when you lose 10 pounds. So if you set the higher marker up at 30 pounds, and you still have it, then you're like almost achieving milestones, which with each level.
Right.
And if you achieve the top, awesome, amazing, but you can still walk away feeling really good about yourself, your progress, if you hit those lower two brackets, which I always, that changed my whole thinking, honestly, around goal
I love
setting.
that you're talking about writing it down, because I think we often have so much circulating in our brain that it's really important to write it down. I mean, we know that this is definitely one of the essential steps for manifesting. It's like we can't just manifest to write it. We have to actually write our goals down. We have to see ourselves in our future self. We also have to make sure that we're seeing the steps that we need to take to actually have those be achievable goals. So
Mhm.
not just writing down your goals. And if you want to do, what is it? Goals, good, better,
Good,
best.
good, better, best is always
Good,
like the
better, best. So if you want to do that, actually then write down, if you're like, I want to get more clients, how are you going to get more clients? Are you going to engage more in your Facebook group? Or are you going to actually create a Facebook group? Are you going to do a webinar a month? Are you going to do workshops offline? Like, see yourself actually writing down those steps. And then, for example, if you're doing workshops online, what are the 5 to 10 places that you're reaching out to? Make a list of those people, like actually taking those
action.
steps. Same thing with a webinar. It's like, what's the content you're launching? If you guys need content, you know where I'm at.
Mhm.
But it's like, you need to know, what is that webinar? I actually had a client that signed up with me yesterday that's like, I need to do a bunch of sessions with you because I need to map out my quarter. I was
Mhm.
like, oh my God, this is the kind of stuff that makes me wet. This is the kind of stuff that gets me excited when a coach says I actually need to map it out, because she's got a whole goal, a big goal to launch a functional medicine program. She's like, I need to be doing a webinar a month. I need to
Mhm.
think about how I'm having my visibility. I need to think about my free offers. And she was clear. And because of that clarity, we're able to like map out what's December, January, February, March going to be. What's that first quarter? So she can go into it strong, build her list. And she already was like, yep, I've been practicing doing workshops. I've been practicing doing webinars, practicing getting comfortable on camera. And I thought, that's exactly the reverse engineer steps that you need to have.
Yeah, and knowing, yeah. So like when you do set your goals, then you'll know, what it's the effort that has to go into each one
Yeah.
of those, and then that's really, really important, because if you don't have those action steps, then you're not moving towards your goals. So it's really good. And that's why if you don't write them down, and it sounds so silly, like just write them down, like as if it's homework. But if you don't do that, then like everything will just stay in your head. It'll stay a dream.
You're
It'll
gain,
stay.
you're gaining your own way of success.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
fear, I think the fear comes in so much of that self-worth. It's like, you have to have that goal of what you're charging. I actually was thinking about when I used to coach, because a coach had emailed in for a strategy session and said that she was charging 100 a month. I said, please, you have to charge more. I at least came out of school and I was at 197. Do you know how many people I needed to see to be at 197 and make? I think I made 13,000 that year.
Hmm.
But I said to her, but what I did is I made sure that like I kept it, taking it up by increments. Like every 2 months, every 3 months, I would go to like 250, 297, 350, 397. Eventually it got to be 550 an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that got to be actually sustainable. But I mean, she was saying like, what do coaches charge for high ticket? I said, there are so many coaches who charge 997 a month, 2097 a month,
Yeah, because you have to
6,000
think
a month.
about everything that goes into it too. It's like, especially as an entrepreneur, what your rate is, you never go home with, because there's so much
Yep.
that you have, like whatever expenses you have, if you're using, like a coaching software, Practice Better, or, Active Campaign or MailChimp or whatever you're using for any of your stuff, plus
Yeah.
taxes. And we all know taxes can be, a B. But it's so like really set like your goals and everything you want for your business, for yourself, and give yourself the opportunity to ask for what you really want in life for yourself,
Mhm.
and to
What
go
you
for
really
it.
deserve.
Yeah, 'cause and I love this time of year, because like when you look at it, a lot of times it can go either way. Like people can also become very depressed at the end of the year, right? Like we
Yeah.
just, because a lot of times people look back and it's like, well, this year didn't go as planned, or I didn't hit those goals, or whatever. And it's like, what's in the past is the past, like look at the new year coming in and what do you really want? It's brand new. It's a brand new year. Even if you're in year 7 of your business, it's still a brand new year. You could have more success
Yeah.
in that year than you
And
have.
also be willing, I think I love that you talked about like looking back, be willing to look back and see if I didn't get to this goal,
Mhm.
why, what was actually happening. I know for
Mhm.
myself, financial goals like this last 2 years has been different because I said I've got to take a little step back from social media. Not
Mhm.
going to be doing as much. I'm working on this deep trauma therapy that's taking up a lot of space, so I'm probably not going to hit the goal that I want to hit. But I know what those steps are and those building blocks to actually hit that goal and what I need to do. Be willing to look back and have compassion and say, you know what, maybe this year I wasn't feeling my best. Maybe
Mhm.
this year I was dealing with imposter syndrome. So I knew all the steps I needed to take, but I wasn't doing it. Like be
Yeah.
willing to actually be honest with self.
Yeah, I think that's super, super important. And to have that compassion factor, like you said, I think, and also just, being grateful for everything that did happen.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm.
even though this didn't happen, this did, and just like thinking at it through, that mindset. And that's going to be really pivotal for entering a new year with new goals and a new vision.
So we would say map out, write down your goals, write down the good, the better, the best, write them down in 3 columns, then
Mhm.
reverse engineer and figure out what you need to do to actually make those happen. Like we said, what are your list building goals? Well, you're actually always list building. So it's really, what are your goals to get more clients? What are your financial goals? I think also looking at like your time freedom, like really looking at working smarter, not harder. Where do you need to actually, I would say, like evaluate your time schedule. Some people spend way too much time in Canva. I was just saying to somebody the other day, thank God for my team, because if you put me in Canva to make images, your healthcoachbiz.com would not be in existence. But really being knowledgeable, really being, well, the word isn't knowledgeable, really being in tune to where
Yeah.
you're spending your time. I know for me, when I was up leveling, I took a egg timer, like one at a clock, to really be able to see how long I was spending time, where I was spending time on Facebook, where I was spending time in a scroll, like what was actually not productive. That
Yeah.
actually became a goal of mine. And I think also like health goals. We
Mhm.
talk about being health coaches, but I think for a lot of us, we deal with our own health issues. So, like, what are your health goals for the year? What do you
Yeah.
need to do? I know that was going on for me when I couldn't get out of this Epstein Barr kind of cycle. I had
Mhm.
to really say, all right, so my health goal is to come out of this autoimmune hell. What do I need to do? Hired a doctor, did IV therapy, a ton of IV therapy, oxygen therapy, all these different red light therapy, all these
Mhm.
different therapies. And I was able to come out of that autoimmune health. And it's been one of the top goals that has to be there always.
Yeah, I think that is super important because it should be the first goal anyone sets, because it's so easy to lose sight of that, even as health conscious as we
Yep.
all. It's just busy things happen and life is busy, and sometimes it's easy to forget or get out of a routine, or even just thinking about, like I know recently for me, like getting over, COVID, I was like, okay, my body's not in the same health as it was 2 months ago. I need to actually do more for myself health wise than I was doing
Yeah.
2 months ago. And really being aware of that and making like smart decisions, when it came to my health. And that's made a big difference for me. And I think if we don't do that for ourselves and give ourselves, set those goals, I think that's really important.
Well, and I think especially as entrepreneurs, I mean, whether we're a new coach or whether we're a coach that has been around the block for a while, there's so much that we always have to be doing at different parts of our business that it's
Mhm.
like we can get ourselves into a state where we're adrenal fatigued. And I know for a lot of coaches, you'll see people like come out of the hustle, and it's like really important to actually make sure that in that process that you're building your business or you're up leveling, that you're not sacrificing your self-care. I know for me, it was something that I did. It was like kind of an addiction to work. I just kept working, and I had to really find that beautiful balance of where can I work more efficiently without fear. That was part of the overworking. It's that it was like just kept going and going. And I think to make that like a really good goal, it's like how to work smarter, not harder. And I would say the last part is to look at your relationships in life as really like goal, like what do you need more of? Do you need more girlfriends? Do you need better connection with your parents, better connection with siblings? Where do you need to let go? Where do you need to forgive? Would you agree?
Yeah, I think looking at your support system and your, you know, people and atmospheres that drain you, I think is really important, like surrounding yourself around people who are supportive, and if you don't have family who's very supportive, because not everybody does, find friends or a local community. There are people
Yeah.
out there that want support just as much, so to, and also to be a support to other people, because I think that just creates that energy exchange where it just comes back to you when you need it.
And then you can definitely always, I know a lot of people love to do vision boards. I have one in my closet where I get changed, so I look at it every day. You can always take your list that you got, put that list up there so you see it every day, and then put images around there of you like showing up for that webinar or doing that workshop. It becomes a really nice picture board for reminding you of what your goals are. So
Mhm.
Michelle, before we go, is there anything else that you think we need to add to this episode to make it on fire?
I would say don't hold back, just there's nothing terrible that's going to happen if you don't hit the goal. So just write it down anyway and go for it. And you'll go farther than you would have, if you didn't write it down. So you're already winning the minute you put it down. So you might as well just do it.
Just do it, guys. All right, you've heard it. Listen, and I would say I follow a lot of people who swear by journaling, swear about writing things down in a journal and then it happening exactly that way. We know that this works sometimes, and that's my goal for this year, is getting better at journaling because I'm not the best journaler. But that was on my goal list, and I say that it's definitely something that I need to work on because I see it work for everyone. But I am a good goal setter. I'm a good list builder. I am a good list builder when it comes to building those lists on what I actually need to do. So make sure that you are getting your goals this season and have a very excellent holiday. And we will see you on the episode next week. Stay tuned, guys. See you later.